thank you all. I really appreciate it. There's a few things I want to say tonight that I want you to digest, because this is a fun time. And I remember running around the state thinking, you know, we should really get slots and maybe gaming and keep some of that money in Maryland and all that stuff. And this is one of the results where we're sitting here tonight. So we had some foresight with regard to that, but my thoughts are really national. And the talk's maybe 12, 15 minutes, so it's really the title, Us, Them, Next. And with regard to us, because us is us, Republicans. We're all upset about what happened. We know, we think we know, we have some suspicions with regard to what happened, but let me tell you exactly what happened in 2020. Because we focused on a campaign and they focused on the election. We had terrific events. We had major crowds with the president. We did the traditional stuff. We had huge crowds, as you recall. It was a great TV deal. 50,000 people, 30,000 people showing up, a lot of independents, a lot of Democrats, and the Democrats focused on the election. When we were showing up campaigning, they were bypassing state election laws and doing their thing with respect to mail-in voting because of the pandemic. So we may have won the campaign, but they won the election, and that's a real good lesson for us in the future. Now, with regard to our challenges, we all know we have challenges. We have some folks who didn't like the president and who supported the other side and all that. And we also know we have some demographic challenges out there with young people, and although things are improved with regard to minority voters, still African Americans, Hispanics, the whole 9 yards. Young people, Republican women in the suburbs, these are our challenges, and we better deal with it if we want to be a majority party. And we're all here tonight writing checks, putting bumper stickers on, goofy hats, giving speeches because of one reason, not because we need to feel better. We want to win. So politics is about winning, right? Politics is about winning. So just not that this crowd needs it. So with regard to us, we have issues, we have challenges, we're out, and I'll get to 2022 and 24 later. But just think about what a Republican president did. And all of you can run off this list, all of you can do it. Growth tax cuts, regulatory reform, job creation, border enforcement, charter school funding, 234 originalist judges, 234 originalist federal judges, a manufacturing rebound, real energy independence for the United States, executive orders on free speech and due process on campus, believe it or not, Middle East peace deals for, isolated Iran, stood up to China, empowered Israel, and certainly empowered a Sunni coalition with Israel to stand against Iran. That's just 30 seconds worth of accomplishments. You all have your list, you all know it. Not enough people understood it in the context of that campaign. Again, that's our fault, our party's fault, because that's a record of success. Now, when you think about that record, think about the context. Think about every power center in the history of the United States against the Republican Party and against President Trump. Think about the power centers that we typically identify. Academia, Hollywood, big tech, the legacy media, woke businesses, Wall Street, Silicon Valley. Just about everything you consume as an American. Any piece of news, where you send your kid, what you watch on TV was aligned against the Republican Party and that president. And despite all of that, we have that record of success, and but for that pandemic, we know we'd be celebrating another 4 years. So, now, think about the folks I just described, Silicon Valley and big tech and Wall Street and academia. Think about the establishments of both political parties in Washington. Establishments exist for the status quo. Establishments love status quos. Establishments do not like change. Establishments do not like, under any event, disruptors. Establishments value status quos because establishments do not want to change. So what part of disruption What part of disruption do we think would be comfortable? When you disrupt both party establishments and speak to middle America, between the coasts, to flyover America, there's going to be a lot of disruption. I'm going to get into this more in a second, but please understand that, and I'm an old football player, as you know. I have 2 football players over here. For too long, both parties played between the 20s in the football terminology. It's safe. Between the 20s is safe. And between the 20s allows China to eat our lunch. And between the 20s allows Iran to be very dangerous in the Middle East. And between the 20s means we lose on campus. And between the 20s means woke instruction in our public schools and our private schools, all of our schools. Between the 20s is safe. That was the status quo. That's not why we elected that guy in 2016. And for 4 years, he delivered the disruption that we wanted because things changed for the better in the first 3.5 years, clearly, before that pandemic. And we need to remember this as we talk about going forward. I'll get to going forward in a second. So now let's get to the second part here. That was us. Now think about them. I know Joe Biden served in Congress. He was in the Senate. I was in the House. He made fun of my hair one day. I made fun of his famous occasion I'll tell you about privately. 35 years of Northeastern liberal. Run-of-the-mill, safe liberal. But what do we have today in this administration? Let's think about this real for a second. We have an administration so extreme, so hesitant to support the blue, so eager to placate Beijing, so willing to engage the Iranian mullahs, so indulgent of Russian pipelines, so acquiescent to open borders, so passive about failing schools, so supportive of late-term abortion, so happy to engage identity politics, so gung-ho on gun confiscation, so dismissive of energy independence, so resolute on cancel culture, so quiet about Hunter, so happy to weaponize race, so willing to engage woke. That's what we have for the next 18 months. Not what some people, particularly some never-Trumpers, signed up for, I know, but that's certainly what we have. So I'm going to conclude in a couple minutes. The last part here is next. Us, next. What's next? Time marches on. Political parties exist, they grow, or they die. In 2022, we have a great opportunity to win the House. We have a great opportunity to pick up 2, 3, 4 dozen seats. That's step one. By the way, there's a lot of very difficult Senate races in 2022. So it's not automatic. A lot of folks in Washington believe the House is automatic. That's not automatic either, but it's going to be easier in the Senate. We have tough Senate races. We need to focus on those tough Senate races and get those incumbents reelected. Couple thoughts about this future, next couple years. This is not a progressive country. It's not a liberal country. It's not a left of center country. So with regard to the issues and where the country wants to go, we have a head start. We need to understand that. The second thing we need to understand is, please, I don't want to hear it tonight. If I see anyone doing this, I'm going to throw a flag. 15. The press is the press. The media is the media. They ain't changing. They do their thing. President Trump took a big hit. What, unfair, the whole 9 yards. We know that. But think about the last 40 years. Think about those presidential campaigns. Go Google these names. Go Google these campaigns tonight. And what you'll find is real interesting. Reagan, lazy, racist. 41, born to the manor, privileged, racist. Dole, mean, racist. 43, warmonger, racist. McCain, surly. That was true. Surly, racist. Romney, robber baron, racist. Trump, robber baron, racist. Anybody see a pattern here? Things aren't going to change. We need to understand that. It's what they do. Sometimes they're successful, sometimes they're not, but it's page one of their playbook, and it ain't changing. And the better off, the sooner we understand it's not changing, the better. Remember the old Doonesbury? Some of you are old enough to remember Doonesbury. During the Reagan administration, the Doonesbury would run cartoons, and they were very popular, and they had political messages. And every time the president's polls went up, Doonesbury ran a cartoon, and it was a picture of Reagan, and Reagan would be talking to the American people, and the press would be saying, oh no, he's going around us again. He's speaking to the American public. That's precisely what President Trump did. Going around them, through them. I don't care what plays we need to run. They're not changing. We need to understand that. So, with regard to this new party, and now I'm going to close with this. We obviously have some messiness. We know that. We have some folks signing letters in Washington. We know that. We have some folks living in the past. We know that. We have some establishment folks resisting change and disruption. We know that. But I've never been more excited for this party in my life. And that's not just, I'm not running for anything. It's not a politician giving cliches. What happened the last 4 years and what we see in the polls is exciting and promising, because this president, that president, our president, on the basis of his record, expanded African American support, big time expanded Hispanic support, expanded Asian support. We are a more inclusive party than we have been for many years. And most importantly, for those of us who've been running around screaming bloody murder for 30, 40 years about Wall Street and the chamber, we are now the party of Main Street. We're the party of America's working class and middle class and people that work with their hands. And as long as we're the party of people that work with their hands, we're going to win. Now, by the way, not all those folks who work with their hands and wear blue collars and punch a clock voted for President Trump last time. Those folks in Western Pennsylvania and Ohio. Who do you think they vote for today? Who do you think they vote for today? So, we know the record, we know where the opposition is, but next is us. Next is getting our act together. Next is understanding the agenda that gets people making $25,000 a year to vote for us. Understanding the agenda that gets people to punch clocks for a living, voting for us. Wall Street does its thing. Silicon Valley can do its thing. I'm not going to demonize them, but that's not where we live. That's not where our voters are. They can go woke. We're going where our folks are. With regard to where we're going and where our folks are about Main Street, not Wall Street. They're about American exceptionalism. They're about inclusiveness and getting our message out to folks who haven't thought about voting for us in an awful long time. They're about law and order, supporting the blue, about speech and sovereignty and freedom and opportunity, the reasons we come together in conventions. Again, the reasons we put bumper stickers on our car, and I still see once in a while faith, once in a while an Ehrlich bumper sticker out there that the person actually believed us, put that bumper sticker on the car, and we lied and we told them they come off easy, and they never came off easy. And I would say, why do you want it coming off? And it increases the resale value of your automobile. And I think those people forgive me. A party that stands apart on principle and believes in how exceptional we are and believes in teaching, warts and all, American history. And a party that believes education policy should be done at the local level, not in Washington, D.C., but most of all believes we are forever not just a land of opportunity, but remember what we were taught in middle school, in elementary school, the melting pot. People came here, some came on slave ships. Most came here with not a buck to their name. Both came here on the basis of a promise, a social contract, You come here, you get to be free, you get to maybe get rich, maybe get wealthy. You get to do what you want to do. That's our social contract. We celebrated that melting pot, that concept of assimilation for centuries. It is under attack today. Next, we take it down, we win races. The Ehrlichs love you. Godspeed. Thanks for having me tonight.